everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So Hellboy came out 2004, and when I went in and saw that movie, I knew nothing about Hellboy at all. I'd never, read any comic books about Hellboy, and I didn't know anything about the character. I just went in and see it because I really like Guillermo del Toro as a filmmaker, and I really like watching comic book movies in the cinema. I went out thinking that it was a pretty good movie, but it lacked a certain oomph, I thought, and this movie probably should have been a R, even a hard R, I think. But when the sequel came out, despite this also sort of lacking that oomph, and I also was a PG-13 movie, I still thought that this was a far better movie. Mostly because that it was a better story, it had better characters, and the creativity that Guillermo del Toro stuffed this movie with is absolutely amazing. And today we're going to take a look at a sort of forgotten sequel that I think is far superior to the original movie and the best Hellboy movie that has been made so far. This is Hellboy, the Golden Army. He's not a fan of humanity. In fact, he hates humanity and he wants to eradicate all of humanity because we're a bunch of assholes who just, destroys the environments and creates war and, listens to Post Malone and stuff like that. This has to stop. And how is he going to do that? Well, he is going to awaken the Golden Army, a legendary, indestructible army of 70 times 70 warriors that, cannot be killed and cannot be defeated. And with this, he's going to crush humanity. And him and his sister, who he has a very special bond with, sets off to try to awaken the Golden Army. Now Hellboy sees this and says, not on my watch, so he's going to try to stop Prince Nuada from, awakening the Golden Army. And the team, of him and Liz and Abe Sapien is going to be adding a new member, because they get Johan Kraus, who is this kind of a steampunk robot of some description, or is he just mist that can interact with different kind of things? He has a very fun thing where he does, a bunch of things with cupboard doors and stuff like that with Hellboy, which I thought was kind of fun. The thing is, so they go out and they try to stop him. So it is basically, humanity sucks and I'm going to, destroy it, and we have a bunch of heroes who's going to try to stop him. Now, on the surface, that doesn't sound like a very, unique story or anything that hasn't been told before, but it is done in such a good way. And if some mundane filmmaker would have, attempted to do this story in a Hellboy movie, it probably wouldn't have been that interesting, and it wouldn't have been that spectacular, or it wouldn't have been that cool and creative. But Guillermo del Toro is not like most filmmakers. He has stacked this movie top to bottom with so much spectacular, awesome, cool things. Everything just looks so gorgeous. It's one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen. The Troll Market is such a vibrant place. I want to spend, all day at the Troll Market. I don't want them to do anything else. I don't want them to go fight Prince Nuada and his fucking army. I want them to just walk around the Troll Market and just experience these things. It is such a cool set. And the sequence where Hellboy is fighting this forest god, it is one of the most gorgeous and sad and, tragic sequences I've ever seen in a superhero movie such as this. Because when you get down to the meat of the matter, Prince Nuada is a villain that is correct but being a dick about it. He kills people, he is the bad guy, but you can really sympathize with him. And we also get this doom and gloom feel around him, because it feels like he's having this battle that he somehow knows that he's going to lose. There is something really tragic about it, and if he would have been played by anybody else except Luke Goss of all people, he would have been remembered as one of the great tragic comic book villains of all time. Now he's kind of forgettable despite his character not being that. And I also like the interaction between him and his sister, who really doesn't want him to do that stuff, but she has to do that because their lives are linked together. And she also forms this sort of relationship with Abe Sapien, which I thought was very, very cool. And to be frank, we do have Ron Perlman as Hellboy that assures us that not too much of our sympathies goes to Prince Noir, because Ron Perlman is just so fucking good at playing Hellboy. He's just such an awesome and cool and laid-back hero, and his interactions between the more, by-the-book steampunk robot Johan is pretty much fun. What isn't as fun is the girl problem that they have, bestowed upon this movie, because that is what a movie like this needs. That, that the relationship between him and Liz is on sort of rocky grounds and stuff like that. I thought that was unnecessary, and I thought that that didn't add anything to this movie. When it comes to the action sequences, neither this one nor the first Hellboy is such a memorable thing. The more memorable things is actually, the creatures to interact with, and the creativity with the creatures and the sets and stuff like that. The action sequences are fine, leading up to what I must say is not the most exciting finish of all time, even though it made absolute sense and nothing was, overcooked, overbooked or overcomplicated. But there was also one other thing that happened in the end of this movie, because that is when, more doom and gloom came over this, and not just over, our very doomed villain, but over our actual heroes, because they meet a creature in a cave. I love that sequence, it is so cool, and it sets up perfectly the third movie. And if they would have done that, I think they could have easily made the trilogy of the Hellboy movies into a very, very good movie trilogy. But because this movie was just a modest success in the box office, Guillermo del Toro couldn't really, greenlit a third movie, and he just moved on to other projects. And in the end, we got this reboot slash remake slash, restart of the whole thing with David Harbour that came out 2019 that everybody hates except me, apparently, because I thought it was a very good movie. Not as good as this one, but actually, I think it is better than the first Hellboy movie. I'm sorry, but it was just a better movie, I thought. I honestly don't know what everybody else saw in that movie that made them hate him so much, because I didn't. So, should you see this movie? Yes, I think you should. It is a very entertaining, it is a fun, and it is a very colorful and vibrant superhero movie. Far from the too dark and gritty or the too colorful and too joke-heavy superhero movies that we have today. This porridge is just right. So there are these sequences in this movie that is so good that I want to give this movie a bigger rating than what it's going to get. There are so many cool moments in this movie, and you can really feel Guillermo del Toro's absolute love he has for the craft of filmmaking, that I want to give this movie a bigger rating than it's going to get. But I cannot unsee certain things that, simply doesn't, help this movie, especially the sequel baiting and some of the sequences that, goes on and doesn't really make that much of a sense. And there is also some aspects of this movie that I found to be quite uninteresting. And as I said, the girl problem portion of this movie wasn't anything that, helped this movie in any way, because I didn't really care that much about the relationship between Hellboy and Liz. And also, it is a bit sad that we cannot have more than a small cameo from John Hurt as Professor Broom. He's sorely missed from this movie. I will actually say that you should watch all three Hellboy movies that has been made up until this point, because all of them have something to contribute with. Very unique, very interesting, but I think this one is the best of the bunch. I give this Hellboy sequel 84 points. It is a visually very impressive movie. It has memorable characters who are very likable, and Ron Perlman is so good as Hellboy. It is a movie who will stay with you for quite some times with its fantastic visuals and its high levels of creativity. I really like this movie a whole lot, and it's just a couple of tweaks away from masterpiece territory. So which one is your favorite Hellboy movie? Comment below! So I'll see you next time for so-and-so reviewing, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.